Can you hear me? Jamie?
Sorry, I was on mute. I can hear you now.
Gotcha.
I just stepped away and I didn't want anybody talking into it.
Yeah.
Do you have any preliminary matters?
No.
All right. I guess Phil's got a couple people that wrote letters, and it seems like they might be kind of contentious. I forget what case that is.
Oh, I think I saw whatever in the supplemental packet, some other letters besides mine, but mine are all in support, so.
All right. Do you know what his were, or what case numbers they were? I have the screen up. I can look at it.
Yeah,
I'll take a quick peek then. Yeah, give me the case number if you don't mind.
BZA 20-015.
005?
015.
Wow, North Hamilton. 280 unit residential development.
Now, when you say,
People, go ahead.
do I have anything preliminary, that doesn't include like an updated site plan or anything like that. I talk about that whenever the case is brought up, right?
Yeah, exactly. Preliminary would be a tabling or a withdrawal,
Okay.
or just kind of a general FYI.
Yeah.
Currently, Laura Baker Morris is going to be on with a new city attorney that's going to be taking over some of the public hearings. She, as general counsel, I guess, has been inundated with work with COVID and BLM, and she doesn't have time to deal with us, so she's going to have somebody else from general counsel deal with appeals and sit in on our meetings. So that'll be one of my preliminary things. I'll kick it off to her.
Gotcha. You know who it is?
Her name is Deanna Leffler. You know who that is?
No.
Yeah, neither. We're live streaming on YouTube, by the way. Oh, go ahead.
Type or send her name to me in a private chat, and then I'll Facebook stalk her.
We're live streaming on YouTube right now, by the way, so. Hey. All right, now here's something weird. I've only got your picture. I can't see. Where'd everybody else go? Oh, there we go. Sorry. Oh, wait, that's not it either.
Go on, dude. What's our graphics commission attorney name?
Robert Tobias.
Right.
Now, how the hell, if I want to mute people, how do I do that? Maybe I have to stop sharing. Yeah, there we go. Okay. That's weird that you can't have this main screen and also not share. Now, are you, since I'm the host and you're not, are you able to mute people?
No, only you are. Oh, yeah,
okay.
Only you are.
Not sure if you can see the invite list, but there are a lot of people invited to this meeting. Like for every case, there's 2 people, plus staff and the board. You get these all cleaned up? Hey, Bill.
Hey, how are you?
Good. You're
Can you
looking
actually
like the
see me? Is my
Godfather in the
thing
dark there.
working? Yeah, I don't have any light at my house.
Why is that?
Oh, because I'm going to try to turn on this light over here. I'm an old-fashioned guy. I live in the dark.
I don't blame you.
You guys kept me busy printing stuff all morning.
Printing? Oh, all the supplemental packet stuff.
Yeah, what are you printing? You printed it all out.
You couldn't look at it electronically?
On a call.
All right.
Again, I'm old-fashioned.
Hi, Laura.
I'm supposed to use the phone for the voice, right, Jamie?
Yeah,
What's
that's correct.
what's the number?
For your face to show up?
No, to voice, because I'm doing it by my computer right now. But don't you want me to mute that?
Oh, well, I can hear you. I can't see you though.
Oh, boom.
So yeah, I don't think you have your camera on. Now I see you.
If you click up 3 dots, more options, it'll say connection, and you can change your audio over to the phone.
What's the number to dial in for the phone? Is that somewhere?
Yeah. Well, I've got it saved. Go ahead, Michael, if you've got it handy.
I don't. If you go to the more options and then your audio connections, there's options for them to call you.
Oh, I can see call in. View. Got it.
My name is Brian Smith, and I'm just verifying that you can all hear me.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you, Brian.
And see me and hear me?
Yes?
Yep.
Oh, good.
I will go back to being quiet. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks. Eleanor, there's no feedback on your feed if you want to keep doing whatever you're doing. It sounds fine.
Hey, Jamie, this is Laura. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, Laura. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
So far, so good.
Good. Dina should be joining us as well.
Great. Okay. We'll have you do the introduction as a preliminary matter, if that's all right.
Yep, that's perfect.
Great.
Hey, Jamie.
Yeah.
I'd saying, please mute yourself, not addressing or being addressed the board.
Wait, who's
Might be
saying
good.
this? Oh,
It'd be a
I always say that.
front page. Yeah.
We have a quorum.
Jamie?
Yeah.
Okay, Jamie. I cannot seem to get a member number, so I'm on, but I don't have a number. So you can't identify me. You know.
Why don't you try to log out and call back in? It should work for you. It worked earlier.
Yeah, it didn't give me a number to put in. You know, it says it always says, okay, so your user number or whatever is so and such and such. Well, it didn't give me one.
Well, like I said, if you log out and call back in, it might give it to you.
Yeah, I'll log out.
Chair Palmer, it is 4:30. Are you ready to begin the meeting?
Ready?
Okay. If you don't mind, I'll just make a few quick announcements.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Just to let everyone know, if you're joining us today and you're just logging in now, you're on mute. Anyone that calls in, will be on mute. Why am I getting feedback now? When it's your turn to talk, go ahead and unmute yourself. You do have that ability, but if it's not your case, please stay on mute so there's no background interference. This meeting is being recorded and streamed live on YouTube. We also have Tony Gillen, who's our court reporter. So if you wouldn't mind, please speak slowly and clearly so we can get everything on the record. The Chair Palmer, will swear in everyone in individually, so we have you on record as being sworn. Staff will present the initial report that the board can ask questions of either staff or the applicant, and then the applicant will have a chance to present. Anyone from the audience that wishes to speak, please let us know. I don't think we had anybody email us beforehand. We did get a few emails that were shared with the board, but if you want to speak during case, the chair will ask if there's anyone from the public, so please make yourself known. We do have two preliminary items before the meeting begins. First, I'd like to introduce our current city attorney, Laura Baker Morris. Laura, if you want to take it and make your announcement.
Sure. Can everybody hear me now? Great.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to announce that the City Attorney's Office General Counsel section is going to have a visiting attorney for the summer, and her name is Dina Leffler. And Dina should be on screen if you're able to see her. And now I'm echoing. And so I'd like to say that Dina will be staffing the BZA meetings for the summertime. And I'm really appreciative to have her on board and have her on staff. I'll still be available should there be a need. But given everything that's been going on with both COVID-19 and the recent demonstrations, I've been pulled to do some other work. And so Dina will be staffing the BZA meetings.
Great, we're happy to have her.
Welcome, Dina.
Thank you all. I look forward to this opportunity, and I really appreciate the chance to be included.
Awesome. And on that note, Madam Chair, we have been holding back some of the appeals that have been coming in just until we got the WebEx meetings figured out, but we may have 1 or 2 for next month. So I'm sure Dina will be involved with that, and we will go from there. 2 other quick announcements as preliminary matters. Sorry. We have 2 cases that are requesting tablings tonight. The first on the agenda is case number 4, BZA 20-016, 1811 Lakeview Avenue. Will the applicant please make yourself known?
Hi, this is Gary Dunn with Maplecraft Custom Homes.
Hi.
Hey, everybody.
Can you will you raise your right hand and promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Okay. Please explain your situation and why you're asking for tabling.
Well, it mainly falls on our shoulders. We had some confusion with our client as to where we were actually going with the project, and staff recommendations had really recommended a significant change in what we were doing, and we, or at least part of us, thought that the client understood that, and then we realized that they did not. So we need to formulate with them and then resubmit is what our hope was.
Okie dokie. Is there anybody here that is planning on speaking on this case tonight? Okay, seeing no one, does the board have any questions?
I'll move to table.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
I'm sorry, I did not hear the second. Who was that? Who did the second?
Eric Welderly.
Thank you.
Please call the roll.
Is Dave having troubles? I'll read it off. Eric Woolley,
Yes.
Bill DeMora,
Yes.
Michael Jones, absent. David Malika. Mr.
Mike
Malika?
Jones is here. He's probably just muted.
Oh,
Yeah, Michael and David were both muted, so call them again, please, Michael Merritt.
Michael Jones.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Yeah.
And Mr. Malika. How about Sarah Palmer Bailey?
Yes. Yes. Okay, tabling is granted.
Thank you very much.
The other item?
The next table request is case number 13 on the agenda, BZA 19-085 and 14 Parsons Avenue. Will the applicant please make yourself known? Jean Cabral, are you on?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. And I'm Jean Cabral, the architect for this project.
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you raise your right hand?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Jamie, are you going to say something?
No, I was just
I'm raising my right hand.
Okay. Do you promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay. Please explain your request.
We discovered that we need an additional variance, and this has just been in the last couple of days. So we're revising the paperwork, and Jamie suggested that we table this until the next meeting. So we're just going to get it tight and get everything right.
Was there anybody here to speak on this application tonight? Please identify yourself. Okay.
I'll move the table.
Second.
Okay, it's been seconded. Please call the roll.
Mr. Waldley,
Yes.
Mr. Mora,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Maleka, are you here? Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes. Mr. Maleka, we cannot hear you, so if you are having trouble with your tabling is granted, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I believe that is all the preliminary matters. We will move on to the regular agenda.
Okay, case number 1 is 2929 14th Avenue. Is the applicant here? Please identify yourself. Is the applicant here for 14th?
With EMH&T, I'm the engineer and the applicant on this project.
Okay, can you raise your right hand, please?
Yes.
Do you promise to
I did not hear his name.
Curtis Prill. He is in Paul, R-I-L-L.
Okay, Mr. Prill, raise your right hand. Do you promise that the testimony you give tonight is the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Thank you. Go ahead, Jamie.
We just
All right.
this case.
Yep. So this is BZA 20-05 at 2929 14th Avenue, located on the south side of 14th Avenue, approximately 600 feet east of North Cassidy Avenue. This is within the East Columbus Civic Association. You guys received an email earlier today with a new site plan that highlights some of the additional screening that the applicant is willing to do on the site. The site consists of a single parcel and is developed with a construction supply company. Surrounding uses are mainly industrial along 14th Avenue with residential to the south. The applicant proposed an additional building on the lot for indoor storage of materials. Variances were initially requested to conform the front setback for the existing building and reduce side yard requirements for the additional storage building. During preliminary site review, it was discovered that the site was not in compliance with its approved site plan. Storage of construction materials had expanded into setbacks around much of the site, and parking was added in the front of the building that encroached into the parking setback. Additional variances for side yard, storage, and parking setbacks were added to remedy these non-compliances. Planning supports the proposed variances, but encourages without conditioning support upon the applicant exploring opportunities for additional landscaping, screening along the south and along the frontage, as well as introducing fencing fabric to better improve screening of the site from the right-of-way. The Port Columbus Joint Economic Development Strategy recommends utilizing screening methods between industrial and residential uses, as well as street trees along all public streets. The Division of Traffic Management has no comment regarding this application. A recommendation from the East Columbus Civic Association has not been received as of today, or the writing of this report. City departments recommend approval. The purpose of building lines and setbacks in the M1 district is to maintain separation between uses, structures, and buildings. The proposed addition of a building on the site and the reduction of setbacks will not be out of character for this largely industrial area the addition of screening enhancements and plantings will reduce impacts upon adjoining properties. And the condition that we've recommended as well is to commit to the site plan that's on the screen. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thanks, Michael. Mr. Prill, question about your attendance at the neighborhood association. Did you attend their meeting?
So my efforts were to get in touch with the Civic Association Chair, Michael Johnson, and I was not able to get, through multiple efforts, hear back from him and get to one of the meetings. I did talk with Mark Liska, who owns Liska's Bar and Grill, which is the location where they hold the meetings. They hold the meetings as necessary, I understand, I think the last Saturday of each month. And I explained the case to him because he is on the Civic Association, Mark Liska is, and he said, Mike Johnson can be difficult to get a hold of. He usually gets back to you on the weekends, but he would try on my behalf as well. And just to date, I have not heard from him. But I think as part of our application, we do want to make it clear that we'll continue to reach out to the Civic Association since they have a fairly casual process and would like to get the owner in touch with Mike Johnson to make sure that they just stay looped into what's going on in the area.
When did you reach out to Mr. Johnson?
So initially, this would have been in February when we submitted our application, and then during some of the COVID measures, I did not reach out to him through March and April, and then back this month in June here, I left him a couple voicemails this month trying to get in touch ahead of our meeting.
And staff, this is Eric. Can you describe some of the screening opportunities that you'd be looking for?
Yeah, so we're looking at as the exhibit showed on the south property line, which is adjacent. There's technically a 10-foot alley that separates this district from the residential lots to the south. But we're looking on that south property line where there's already a fence and some existing vegetation. We would be looking to supplement that, any of the gaps between the vegetation or improvements to the fence with the intent that we meet 5 feet minimum height and 75% opacity, which is typical for screening.
So this site plan that has the green showing, that's new plantings that are going to be made?
The dark green would be new or enhanced plantings or screening, and the light green is the existing.
Can you bring up the view again? To see the actual property, to see the screening that's there? Can we see a picture of screening? That's the only picture we have.
This is the only street view we have. But if you look at the aerial, it's not really defined. Michael, do you know more about that?
I mean, they're proposing additional opacity to the chain link fence along the right of way. And then they're proposing 2 new street trees in addition to the, what does it look like? There's 4 about up there now. And then there is some landscaping, well, not landscaping, but foliage and whatnot, bushes and trees along their west and east property lines and south, but they're going to that.
And then is that sufficient to staff, or were you expecting something additional?
No, that is totally sufficient staff. Planning supported it and recommended, but did not condition support upon additional screening, and Mr. Prill has addressed many of the call-outs that they made, including the street trees and the fencing fabric.
What is open storage consist of?
So yes, my understanding is it's mainly building and construction supplies. So they may have just various pallets of materials and maybe concrete pipe and typical building supplies on the lot.
But it seems bizarre that you'd have valuable stuff open and removable like that. I'm just trying to get clarity on what open storage is. I don't want to know what it might be. I'd really like it to be clearly defined.
Makes sense.
Do you have that information?
If I believe Sam Slayball, I don't know, he is assisting with the owners on behalf of the owners team and may have some more background. I just want to clarify. So your question is wanting to understand the precise the materials that would be on site, or define what the open storage.
Well, specifically the open storage. The other things that are outlined for variance requests seem relatively routine. I'm concerned about the area, the residences being backed up to, whatever it is, and you're reducing it from 100 feet to 25 feet, if I understand that correctly. And from 25 to 10 feet on the other sides, and not knowing what that is, not knowing pile heights. Routinely, we have people that have stuff and it's openly stored, if you will, and it could be piled high, it could be piled above the fence line. So opacity is a non-issue. Now the people that live adjacent to this are looking at it, and quite frankly, they haven't had an opportunity or they haven't chosen to weigh in on this variance request. So I have some concerns with that.
Understood. Yeah,
Is this person that you referenced, are they on the call tonight?
I see someone named Samuel under the list of attendees.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
We can barely hear you. Can you talk louder?
Yes. Yes, I'm Sam.
Okay, can you raise your right hand, please?
Yes.
Do you promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay, state your name again so that the court reporter can hear it.
Sam Slayball with Slayball Construction. The primary use of this building right now, they are storing everything in an open lot. So when it rains, when it snows, when it's blowing out there, their workers have to gather all these things up, whether it's snow covered or rain covered or ice covered. They're trying to get a building out there to make the place look a lot better and to store stuff inside, cold storage, forms, rebar, concrete product, anything you can think of. They just want to get it under roof and outside.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get clarity on. Open storage doesn't really suggest under roof to me. Are you saying you don't need that variance?
No, we need the variance so that the building doesn't get scooted further up on the lot and use up all the space that's there now.
So what, I wasn't clear on what was being stored in the open storage?
All building construction that has to do with concrete, whether it be concrete forms or rebar, cement products, just building materials. They're all to be under roof and under siding. This building will have side walls on and everything. I'm not sure what the open storage, if that's just wording that was used, but this is an enclosed building.
So to my point, you don't need the variance.
Well, and Sam, sorry, this is Curtis. One of there are multiple requests here, and one of the requests is to reduce the side yard setback, and that helps them to site the building where they need to, so they can maintain accessibility and room for maneuverability of trucks on their property. But there is a request to reduce the storage, the open storage setbacks, to basically allow the existing condition of the site to conform.
I hear you saying that, and he said that he's trying to put everything under roof, which contradicts the need for open storage. So somebody help me.
So I guess, Sam, the question would be is after, assuming that they are able to construct a building and they get a lot of the valuable materials under roof, what is left out in this open area that may be occupying space in the open area? Because that's the piece that I don't know if I have clarity on from the owner, what they'll intend to use this for afterwards, after the building.
Well, it would just be to have the parking lot more open so that they get trucks in and out better and have a more efficient way to ship. Right now, everything is kind of tighter. They have a hard time getting around. By getting it into a building and organized, it'll just clean up their lot and look a lot better.
So this is basically temporary while this building is being constructed. Is that what I'm hearing?
No.
It would be, I think the nature of the storage would be, it is going to match the current materials that they currently store outside, but this would be, hopefully they don't need to use the open storage area the same way that they need to use it today, because they're looking to get a lot of these materials inside under roof in a new building. But they still want the flexibility to have open storage on the site so that if they have overflow or additional inventory, they're able to maintain that storage space similar to their operations today.
And how high is this? How high is this? Are these materials that are being stored? And what does the barrier look like between, or on this side of the lot, between the residential area? Is there a fence? How high is it? Is it opaque? Is there what's there?
What's there currently is I believe a chain link fence with foliage with brush on both sides of the fence. So it is, and it's mostly deciduous foliage, so it's got less coverage, outside the summer months. So that's the existing condition along the southern side of the property. As far as the materials that are on site, how high they're stacked, in the photos that I have not seen anything that's stacked higher than 5 or 6 feet. They do have some tractor trailers, some semi-trailers parked occasionally within the area, and those are obviously higher. But the materials, I think because of the nature of the materials, it's not safe or economical for them to stack higher than what appears to be about 6 feet high.
So, Mr.
I can't remember whether you said you were going to be adding evergreen trees then to the southern border. Is that part of what's the new plan?
I wanted to leave the exact screening method flexible for the owner. It could be fencing or evergreens or a combination of the two.
Because you have on the plan, this plan has this dark green. You said that was new. Is that going to be evergreens?
Most likely, because that would allow us to achieve the opacity values for screening.
Can we make that a condition on and write it on the site plan? Those are going to be evergreens. I guess because you're encroaching 10 feet and 25 feet from residential lines, it seems like we would need some additional screening there.
Not only that, is there going to be mounding? I'm presumably this whole area is like unimproved pavement, not soil that is conducive to growing evergreens. Forgive me, we're not in person, so I don't have the ability to kind of go back and forth and have clarity. On one hand, I'm hearing Mr. Samuel say, we want it for better maneuverability, and I'm having trouble reconciling that with having things under roof. I'm missing something. And I certainly don't want to put you guys on the spot and say you're going to put up evergreens when you're planting them in rocks and soil that won't even allow them to grow or thrive.
There is soil there right now. That dark green just beyond that's an actual fence row of trees. Can you guys hear me? So
I can hear you.
Okay, there is soil there to grow trees. It is not pavement. It is all a gravel limestone parking lot where the building goes, but right behind there, that green area, there's an actual fence row there right now with trees. So
I guess our concern though is that if you're going to be storing things outside and you're going to be encroaching on closer in than the setback, we would need some assurances that it really is screened sufficiently from the residential area.
For sure.
And if
so we're saying, go ahead, Mr. Jones.
If what you're saying is true, that this is going to be under roof, to me, again, I don't even see why you need the variant. If you're putting everything in, it would make sense that these are items of value. You wouldn't just have them on the lot, just arbitrarily sitting there. So again, I don't know if you guys really have clarity on what these materials are or if they're going to be under roof. If it's just a temporary condition, let's look at a temporary condition. But it sounds like we're kind of traveling in a bit of a circle.
So Mr. Samuel, real quick, you can see on the screen right now, there's a lot of materials stored on the southern half of your site. Is all that going in the building, or are you going to continue to store materials outside?
Okay, I think that's where the confusion's coming from. No, they want to store all they can inside the building because it is of value and it is to grow their business. So I think the confusion is because we have a 25-foot setback, if the setback is that far, they also want to be able to store some stuff that is not as of value on the outside still behind the building. But no, all that stuff that you see there, they're wanting to get that inside the building.
Okay, so you want to store materials in the building and outside. The application includes reduction to the open storage setbacks to what's shown on the site plan, and additional screening of 75% opacity and 6 feet high is proposed along that southern boundary. If you want it to be, if the board wants it to be evergreens, that's fine. We can condition that. We can have the site plan updated prior to Chair Palmer Bailey signing it as well. But in terms of materials that are stored outside, I think it's just construction materials.
Well, I appreciate that, Michael. I think with the district being an M1 district, there's a lot of flexibility in terms of what it could be, right?
They have to go through compliance again.
Say that again?
If they wanted to make changes, they wanted to do a different use anyways. They'd have to go back through site compliance and get a new site plan and all that.
Well, I think the open storage is vague enough that they could put virtually anything back there that's allowable in an M1 district. And you're essentially cutting off, you're going in 75% from what the ordinance says do, from 100 feet to 25 feet, and it's something that's potentially objectionable right up against somebody's backyard. There's concerns with that. You guys go ahead and vote. I'm going to vote accordingly. I don't want to take up any more time. I'm just concerned that, again, we have no input from the area association, and this is pretty significant change going adjacent to a residential lot line.
Will the other board members express where you're leaning on this so that we can give the applicant an opportunity to withdraw or table if we feel like we're not going to move forward on this one?
Chair Palmer, can I chime in just really quickly?
Yes.
I just want to alleviate maybe Mr. Jones' concern that many times when we do special permits for junk and salvage yards, they're set back quite a bit from residential. However, those are only allowed in the M district. The fact that this is an M1 district would not allow junk, salvage, anything of that kind of debris. It is allowed open storage, and we don't consider construction materials to be junk and salvage. So I just want to clarify that and let him know that you can't store anything in the M1. The M is a lot more liberal, and you can store pretty much anything in the M, but the M1 is a bit more restrictive.
Hey, Jamie,
and if they did want to turn this into a junk and salvage yard, they would need a special permit.
Jamie, what is the height requirement for M1?
For the storage materials, it's 15 feet.
15 feet, okay.
Buildings, depending on the district, is 35 to 60, but storage materials is 15 feet. Outdoor storage.
So in theory, 9 feet above the fence line.
Well, there's currently a semi-trailer back there against the fence line.
That wouldn't be considered open storage.
I'm just saying there's that as well as a lot of, if you look at a Google map of the thing, there's stuff right along that fence line currently, tons of stuff. So I gotta imagine this would be an improvement no matter what.
Can I speak real quick? Actually, if you look behind there, there's no actual homes or houses, residential right there. It's more, there's a big business there. Like you said, there's a big semi park there right now. So there's not, I don't know if we can see it on Google Earth or not, but it's not like it's a residency right behind it where the building would be going. It would be improving the property tremendously.
You're saying there's no residences? I'm looking at houses.
Well, there are, okay, there is, but there's businesses right adjacent right up to that property.
Sam, are you talking about the east and the west?
We're talking about the south.
The east.
We're talking about the south, right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's a mess. An absolute mess.
But that's not where the building's going. Let's keep going. Go back east.
But that's the area we're talking about, Mr. Samuel. We're talking about that line back there. We don't care about right now where the building's going. You're asking for a variance to put things within 25 feet open in that area, right where those trucks are, where that pink, purple, blue, yellow, all of that stuff there. You're asking for us to vary the lot line and allow you to put open storage up to 15 feet, 9 feet above a fence line, adjacent to those properties back there. That's what we're saying.
Okay. Okay. That's rigid insulation. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
And I think we would be willing to, if the board would entertain it, to look at a height limit for the area that's being varied. So that would be from 100 feet down to the 25 feet mark, a height limit so that you don't have anything that protrudes above the fence.
I could live with that. 5 feet, no higher than 5 feet.
And then if they need to have material storage that's higher than 5 feet, then they just need to make sure that it's set back per code by that 100-foot line.
Correct. Or put it in a building like we were talking about earlier, which makes the most sense.
Which I'm sure they would like to put as much as they can inside the building. And since they're trying to grow the business, they will still need the outdoor storage. But I think we want to be respectful of the neighboring properties with the screening, and now it's been brought to light, a good point, the height of that storage as well. So I think we'd definitely be open to that.
Okay. Mr. If they put in higher screening than 5 feet, do you think they should be able to match that, or do you want it limited to 5 feet? Like if they put in an 8-foot fence, say, or taller trees.
I think it's all suspect, you know what I mean? I just don't want there to be any risk of somebody right at a limit. We're talking about that styrofoam insulation that can blow away. I mean, this is all sorts of, I'm trying to look out for everybody. I want this business owner to thrive, but I certainly don't want it to be at the detriment of the people that live adjacent to it. So just trying to be equitable and fair to everybody, especially since they don't have a voice here today.
Mm-hmm.
Is there no one from the neighborhood here?
So is there anybody here to speak for or against this application? Please identify yourself, take yourself off mute. Okay, so the conditions that I have are evergreen trees planted along the south line, and storage, open storage within the reduced setback limited to 5 feet. Are you amenable to that, Mr. Prill? I think you're representing the applicant here.
Yes.
Okay. Does the board have any more questions?
I would be open to accepting, if there's a taller screening, to accept higher material.
Taller screening meaning a smaller fence?
Yeah, say there's an 8-foot fence or 8-foot high evergreens along that edge.
But I think they have to come to us to request a fence taller than 6 feet, I think, right, Jamie?
No, not in a manufacturing district. That'd only be residential.
Oh, no? Okay.
Yes.
Do we want to change our condition, board members, to make the storage height equal to the fence height?
I don't.
Okay, Mr. Maleka.
I'm solo on this. So, yeah, I like that idea. But again, I want, if that's not going to, everybody's not going to be acceptable with that, I'll move to the 5 foot.
Okay. Okay.
It's one foot below the line.
5 foot it is. If there's no other questions, are you ready to call the roll? Okay, are we ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
I'm sorry, somebody was saying something?
Jamie, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Dave. And I believe Mr. Jones just called the question.
Okay. Mr. Rodelli?
Yes, with the conditions.
Okay, Mr. Demora?
Yes, with the conditions.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Maleka?
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey?
Yes, your variances with the conditions have been passed. Thank you. You are free to leave the call. Case number 2, 1097 Cleveland Avenue. 1097 Cleveland Avenue. Is the applicant here? Can you please take yourself off of mute and identify yourself?
Yes, Jim Maniaci for the applicant.
Hello, Jim. Can you raise your right hand?
Yes.
Do you promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okie dokie. We'll hear from the city first, and then we'll get back to you.
Okay, this is BZA case 20-008 and 1097 Cleveland Avenue, located at the northwest corner of East 5th Avenue and Cleveland Avenue. It's in the Milo Grogan Area Commission, and they recommend approval of this request. The applicant is asking for Ford Code section variances from 3372.604A for setback reductions from, or to provide, I'm sorry, an excess of 10 feet from Cleveland Avenue up to 52 feet, 5 inches from the corner of Cleveland Avenue or along the Cleveland Avenue frontage, let's put it that way. And then they're asking for 3372.605 B and D building design standards, and those variances are to allow the building to occupy an 18% width along the eastern frontage along Cleveland Avenue, where a minimum of 60% of the width of the primary frontage is required. This is mostly due to the shape of the lot, because actually there are 2 parcels here, the one at the corner that they intend to develop, and then the parking lot further on to the east, or north rather. Then the next variance is to provide 81 square feet of transparent glazing and 526 square feet of semi-transparent glazing, where 398 square feet of transparent glazing is required on the Cleveland Avenue elevation. They wish to provide 550 square feet of semi-transparent glazing, where 372 square feet of transparent glazing is required on the 5th Avenue elevation, and to provide 10 square feet of semi-transparent glazing, where 10 feet is required on the America's Alley elevation. The last variance is parking and circulation, the building and the street right of way. This is application is for auto parts store.
Hear what you're saying, Dave.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can't hear you either. Someone's got noise on the background.
Okay. Ready to try again?
Not from the beginning, but
right.
Yeah.
Okay. From where I was going, I got you. Thank you. So, so they're asking you to build an auto parts store at this location, and due to the shape of the lot and so on and so forth, it has a lot to do with why they're asking for the setback variances. For instance, you know, they're trying to put a square building on a rather a lot that is not a standard width and depth. So, and they also will combine the parcels. So I hope you noticed in the report that I wrote that all the variances that are listed are based on the assumption that both parcels will be combined, which is also a condition that we are asking for, the city is asking for. As I said, the Milo Grogan Area Commission has recommended approval of this request, and city staff is recommending approval of this request as well. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Maniaci, do you have anything to add to this?
I don't think a lot needs to be said. I want to be open to discuss any questions that you may have. It's a tough site. It's a sort of a textbook example of the old days when we talked about hardships. You know, corner lot, irregular shaped, bisected by an alley. You know, it's just not easy to do anything. But we've worked with planning. We have an attractive building. It's the high-end look, fitting such a prominent spot, and you know, with the overlay. So I'll just respond to any questions that you have.
Mr. Hayes, I have a question for you with respect to the parking and circulation between the principal building and the street right away.
Yes, that's more of an urban commercial overlay requirement, though.
Okay.
It's like just parking it on their property in between the street and it's on private property, so it's not something we would comment on.
Okay, thank you. Any board members have any questions about this?
Yeah, what is semi-transparent glazing?
Semi-transparent glazing means that shades can be used on those portions that are called out on the elevations. You'll note that on the Cleveland Avenue elevation, we're providing much more glass than is required by code, but then asking that we can use shades on a significant portion of it. The same story is true on the Fifth Avenue elevation. We're putting more glazing, you know, that is required by code, but we're asking to be able to use shades because there's going to be racks and products. It's not going to be very sightly, but we think we can have an attractive building with a lot of glass frontage to it. At least, you know, meet that concern of the over.
So when you say shades, are they applied to the glass, or are they in back of the glass, or?
No, it would be like in the conventional sense of something that would be hanging.
Okay.
Is there anybody here to speak for or against this application? Please take yourself off of mute and identify yourself.
Hi, my name is Alicia Bryant. I'm a resident.
Hi, Alicia, can you raise your right hand and promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth? Please say I do.
I do.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, so a lot of the commission members were unable to log on to the virtual meeting last week. So a lot of people's voices were not heard. I do know that a lot of residents are against having this type of development, especially at that location. So I feel as though that the application should be tabled until the next commission meeting.
I believe that the commission gave a positive vote. Please, staff, what was the vote? What was the commission recommendation?
There were only a few members that were able to join the meeting. The ones that were not able to join the meeting because it was virtual, they are against it.
Madam
And
Chair,
we already have
were
2 auto parts stores within a 1 mile radius, so.
Ma'am, do you have any objections to the variance?
I'm sorry, what was that?
objections to the variances that were requested. We do not have the authority to dictate what type of establishment goes into this spot, but do you have a problem with their request for setback movements and building design standards?
I know that the residents are against it.
We need, in order for us to take your comments into consideration, we need to hear your objections to the variance requirements. If you can't speak on that, that's fine, but I want to give you one last chance.
I'm unable to speak for others, but I object to the whole entire project.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else here that wants to speak for or against this application? Please identify yourself.
Yes, this is Melissa.
Hi, Melissa. Can you raise your right hand and you promise to tell the truth in your testimony tonight? Please say that I do.
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so there was just a couple of things that was mentioned by someone. And just to follow up with her, yeah, there was some difficulties with the rain and the connection, and so there were a lot of commissioners that weren't able to get on. But the question that I will just kind of read off what this resident had this. It says on page 12 under the commercial design guidelines, section 1, the building should be parallel to and facing the street with the entrance door connected to the public. Building is not parallel to the primary frontage on Cleveland Avenue. And one question is, what would be prohibiting them in the wall parallel to Cleveland Avenue? And then in regards to Columbus Code 3372.605, it says a primary building frontage shall incorporate at least one main entrance door. And it looks like they're saying both sides are going to be the main entrance. And so if there could be some sort of clarification on that.
So do you want me to deal with that, or Dave Wright?
I can hear the chairperson's comment.
I'd like to wait until all the comments have come in. Ma'am, will you finish the comments?
Are you talking to me? I think that Mr. Maniaci would be more familiar with it, but I think the elevation drawings show on there exactly what the building's going to look like, which is why they provided them in the first place.
No, not you, Mr. Rice. I was waiting. I was asking for the neighbor's comments. I was asking if she was done making her comments.
Okay.
Mrs. Tompkins, I believe.
Tompkins, yes, I was.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you guys are breaking up. Yes, I'm done.
Yeah, I know it's hard, right? Are you finished with your comments?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anybody else here from the community to speak for or against this application? Please identify yourself.
Yes.
I am.
Oh, go ahead, Don.
My name is Donald Winbush. I'm one of the commissioners that was unable to log on to the WebEx meeting that the commission had.
Okay. Mr. Winbush.
On this subject.
Right. Mr. Winbush, hold on a second. Do you swear this testimony tonight is the truth? I do.
I do.
Okay. Continue, please.
Okay, I'm one of the commissioners that was unable to get on the WebEx meeting last week. I am vehemently against the project in its entirety because of the fact that it would be within less than 100 yards from another auto parts store that we have in the neighborhood. as this neighborhood is transitioning, the last thing we want are a lot of replication of these type of. So I am against it, totally.
So, sir, just like I said to the other lady that was speaking, we don't limit what type of establishment. That's not our position to the variances.
Right. And with that being understood, I just wanted to clarify that, because as this moves forward, you're giving the idea that the commission, the total commission was for this and that we're recommending it. The total commission is not recommending it. And it was because we were unable to get on the call that we couldn't voice that at a meeting.
I guess I got to leave it to the commission they sent in their recommendation, but they felt like they did not have total representation. Why did they send in a recommendation? We can't audit every commission's input.
With that being said, though, is there any way that we can just table this until the commission can all get together at one time and decide this? Because I just don't think that this is a true representation of what the commission wants.
But Chair, there had to be a quorum in order for them to hold a vote. So.
I don't.
Right.
I wasn't there. I don't know if there wasn't.
Right. I mean,
I wouldn't assume that. I would not assume they had a quorum.
There was a quorum.
Oh, there was? Okay.
May I speak?
Said that they had a quorum.
Melissa Tompkins, I actually am the vice chair of the commission. May I just say something briefly to address what he just said?
Please do, ma'am.
So yes, there were a lot of commissioners who weren't able to get on, and it was raining, and it was our first Zoom meeting, and it was on a time limit, so it cut off quickly. And so they were not able to participate in the vote. And even some of those who voted, because of kind of like right now, things were freezing and they weren't aware as they were voting. It was a bit of a issue, but we did ask if we could have a special meeting and to, readdress that, and we weren't able to. So, but there was a quorum. But just as it went to the voting, it was disconnect, and
but you had a quorum to hold the meeting.
Clarify that.
Okay, so
yes,
putting that aside, whatever happens in the meeting, we are allowing you to speak now, but I have not heard from anybody other than the issue with the door, which we will have the applicant speak to that when he gets back. But we're asking right now for you to speak to the variances and your problems with the variances, because that is what we would consider. We will not take into consideration your objection to an auto parts store going in this space. And so if you want to address those topics, we are here to listen. Sir, you have the floor.
Is there any way that we can table this?
We don't have the ability to table. Only the applicant has the ability to table that. He can make the request to table it.
Is the applicant willing to do that?
When he gets back up, we will ask him that question.
Nothing.
I mean, I don't know that there's without hearing from the community, what changes you want to design. If I was an applicant, I would not want to table just to argue with you about whether I can put auto parts over there. But if you have some legitimate concerns about their variances, the glass, the setback, we want to hear them. But otherwise, we can't keep going back and forth on the auto parts issue. I'm
out. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there anybody else here that wants to speak for or against this application? Okay, the applicant, can you address the issue raised by the neighbors about the door, the location of the door?
I'm not sure if I exactly understood the comment. We have the elevations that show the location of all doors. And obviously, if you look at the site plan, the primary door is at the rear because that is where people will be coming in and out of the store. But we have another door that is shown on the elevations, and I note that this has gone through extensive review, and there's been no request for any other doors or the mention that we need a variance, that we haven't provided enough doors. So I'm just not sure where the where the comment comes from. There is as you see if you look at the elevation, you'll see in the on Yeoman Street, the primary elevation, that there's the door there. There's an elevation that shows a door on Cleveland Avenue.
Okay. I think that was the question. I don't think that they saw the door on Cleveland Avenue. And so I think you just spoke to that it is there.
Okay, great. And of course, we have no intention of tabling tonight. I think we've gone through the process, and the objections are based on the use, this is a legal use. And I think that the community is going to be impressed by the caliber of operator that Advanced Auto Parts is, and the control that they have over their operation. They may have some legitimate concerns about the way some other people have been operating in the community, but that's not Advanced Auto Parts.
Okay. Do you have any questions from any of the board members?
Yeah, I wanted Jamie to show at least a site plan that I sketched over top of that could solve some of the frontage issues. The problem is it's not a prototype building at this point, and there's ways to solve some of the frontage issues. It's just it would be not doing, again, a prototype.
Do you have a question embedded in there?
No question, just a comment of if one of the variances asking for street frontage issues, there is a way to solve it.
No,
okay. Any other questions?
I don't.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't think that's a solution. You either track Cleveland Avenue, or you track Fifth Avenue. Now we'd have to get a variance for our setback to Fifth Avenue. Problem is, as you can imagine, this has been re-looked at by a lot of different people, and there are 3 or 4 different ways to set it on the site. All of the ways require a variance. I think we put together a very attractive building that, the variances for one shape may be a little bit different than the variances for another shape, but I think we've got a solid proposal, and we should go with it.
Any other questions?
Can you walk through the variance they're asking for again, please?
Okay. So the first variance is for setback, to provide a setback in excess of 10 feet from Cleveland Avenue, commencing at 52 feet 5 inches from the corner of Cleveland Avenue and East Fifth Avenue, measured along the existing right-of-way with a setback of 10.
Mr. Wright.
Yes.
We don't need you to read the variance request again.
Okay, I'm not sure I understood everything you said, but.
I believe Mr. Maleka wanted to hear them again.
Oh.
Yeah, I just wanted the short versions of what are they specifically asking for? What are the bullet points of those?
All right. All right. So they're looking basically for setback reduction along Fifth Avenue.
Setback increase.
They're looking for reduction in amount of clear glazing on 3 sides of the building, at least. They're not meeting the 60% width requirement along Cleveland Avenue, and they're asking for a setback variance for the parking and circulation. Oh, I'm sorry, not a setback variance, but to allow parking and circulation between the building and the street right-of-way. Those are the main issues.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I thought that it was actually a setback increase, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, that's true.
Okay.
I'd like some clarity from Mr. Maleka. Are you saying specifically one of these variances is not required if they manufacture the building in a different way?
Yeah, I think a couple of them could go away. I mean, some of the setback requirements could go away. They can meet those. I don't know. Again, it's redesigning the building, meet that criteria. You can see it's a prototypical box, and they're not manipulating from that box, except for what I'm seeing is a chipped corner right along Cleveland Avenue.
Are you proposing to not give a yes vote on this, Ms. Maleka? What's your resolution?
Yeah, I be honest with you, I don't see the hardship besides saying we don't want to do we want to do a prototypical building here. I mean, that's what I'm hearing.
So do we need to take the variance request separately?
Yeah, we can do that. We can vote the setback requirement as a separate issue from the building design standards, would really address the glass and the length, and then the parking issue is separate. We can do that.
Can I make a comment to the building plan that David came up with, please? This is Jeff Mattingly.
Okay, sir, are you speaking?
I'm the broker for the developer that helped put this deal together for Advanced Auto Parts.
Okay, can you raise your right hand and promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay.
The one thing about the plan I would like to note is along where it says 20-foot alley, and this is upside down, so moving on the east side. If you notice, you cross through, there's a truck right there. That's how we were going to, the reason we had the building sitting this way is that's how we're going to deliver, that's truck delivery to the building. And that eliminates the ability to deliver, for the truck to get onto the site to deliver to the building. That's why it was set the way it was up against the alley. That's one comment I would have. You did that. You crossed out the truck there. Now we can't get the truck onto the site. And this is what planning, we did mention at the beginning of this, the planning did approve this site plan, which is probably our 4th or 5th reiteration we went through with them. This is the plan, this is the site plan that planning did approve, just to reinforce that, but you eliminated our truck access, just a point of note for deliveries.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready to call the roll? We are going to call the roll on the setback requirement first. Mr. Wright, please take us through.
Okay. Mr. Demora.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. Maleka.
No.
Okay. Mr. Waddell.
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes. Okay, variance for the building design standards, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones.
So, I'm sorry, Mr. Maleka, is the parking and circulation, your objection primarily is to B, the design of the building, right? Not the parking and circulation, which is what Mr. Mattingly, I think, was not maybe alluding to, related to deliveries.
I mean, I'm more thinking about from urban planning standpoint that buildings should have street frontage and should meet those setbacks. I think the building could be manipulated to meet the setbacks and hold the urban fabric.
So based on what Mr. Mattingly said about maneuverability of the delivery trucks, does your plan that you kind of sketched out from an architectural standpoint still support that?
Honestly, I'm not sure because I'm not looking really as much at the parking. I think it could be revised probably to make it work. But again, I was really looking as, is there a way to fit the building better on the site? It's an odd site. Everybody can tell. I mean, it's a strange site, and it looks like it's tough to put a box on there.
Sure. I'm just trying to do the right thing by everybody here. Clearly, since there's objection from the community and they feel they haven't been heard, I just want to make sure we make the best decision we can here by giving them the best product for the community. Oh boy. I'm going to say no.
Okay. Mr. Maleka?
No.
Mr. Waddell?
No.
Mr. Demora?
No.
Chair Palmer Daly?
Yes. Please call the roll for variance for parking and circulation.
Okay. Mr. Maleka?
Yes.
Mr. Waddell?
Yes.
Mr. Demora?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey?
Yes. 2 variances passed, 1 variance did not. Thank you.
Okay. Chair, is that with the understanding that the parcels would be combined that we asked for?
I think we have a right, I don't think we have a vote on that, so that was not in our vote.
Well,
We would certainly commit to doing that.
Oh,
Applicant would
okay,
commit
well
to-
then then that's something separate.
okay, very well, thank you.
Okay, thank you. The third case we're hearing is 7,000 North Hamilton Road. If the applicant is here, please unmute yourself and identify yourself. $7,000 North Hamilton Road.
Joe Thomas is applicant for Metro Development.
Great, Joe, can you raise your right hand and do you promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth? Please state I do.
I do. Jeff Strong.
Thank you.
Jeff Strong with EMH&T is the presenter on this application.
Is he here? I'm sorry, is he here?
He was on the call as of the start of the meeting. Jamie, you see Jeff on the call?
He's got his hand up, but he hasn't sent any messages or anything.
Okay, we'll come back to him after we hear from the city.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 7,000 North Hamilton Road is located on the west side of North Hamilton Road, approximately 220 feet north of Central College Road. There's no community group for this area. It is zoned Neighborhood Center and Neighborhood General District, the two T&D districts. The 21.7 acre site is the last unplatted and undeveloped section of a larger rezoning from 2016. The site is mostly forested with a retention pond in the northeast corner of the parcel. Surrounding uses are all developed or developing with single unit dwellings and agricultural vacant land to the north. The applicant proposes to construct multi-unit dwellings totaling 280 units, including a clubhouse. The variances are to not provide a vehicular connection to Upper Albany Crossing Drive, to not place buildings parallel to frontage lines, and on the site plan you see here the 4 buildings for which these variances are applicable. So not placing buildings parallel to frontage lines to increase the maximum building setback along North Hamilton Road from 12 feet to 150, to increase the lot width from 170 feet to 1608 feet, with the understanding that the whole development is one lot, which is why that number is so big. To reduce the minimum build out percentage of North Hamilton Road from 50% to 41%, that's the amount of the frontage that is occupied with the building. The applicant has committed to preserving the existing trees within the central green to the greatest extent possible. The applicant will provide 15 to 25 trees to augment the trees that are removed along the perimeter of the central green. The rezoning from 2016 had a thoroughfare plan that showed a vehicular connection to the neighborhood to the north, Upper Albany West, which is not reflected in this application. However, a pedestrian connection is being proposed. The Rocky Fork Blacklick Accord Plan states roadways should be interconnected within the community, as the site includes an opening for connection to Upper Albany Crossing Drive. Planning staff requests a vehicular connection to Upper Albany Crossing Drive be included. Additionally, staff encourages the applicant to preserve existing trees where possible with a focus on the central open space. To the extent this is not feasible, staff requests that additional trees be planted in the central open space. Division of Traffic Management does not support the requested variance from 3320.15B8 to not provide a street connection. City departments recommend disapproval. The planning division has determined the proposal is not consistent with the area plan, which recommends vehicular connections be made where possible. And traffic management likewise does not support the lack of vehicular connection to the north, Madam Chair.
Okay, not sure who's speaking on this property from the applicant.
Again, Joe Thomas with Metro Development. Thank you very much.
Jeff Strong with EMH&T.
Mr. Strong, can you raise your right hand and promise that the testimony you give tonight is the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay. I will turn it over to you two. How do you want to present?
Well, I'd like to first of all start with this project that it's the last piece of a T&D parcel.
I'm just hearing static. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're hearing some feedback. Do you have two devices on?
Hang on here.
That's much better. Mr. Strong, are you there?
He muted himself.
So, hello?
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 Hello, we're here.
You're providing quite a bit of feedback.
I can't hear Dave.
Are you able to call back?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. There's quite a bit of feedback. Are you able to come in, call back in on a different device?
Hello?
Hello?
All right.
Sir, we're unable to hear you because when you talk, there's reverb, and so it just blurs everything you say.
Joe, is there any way you can present?
Yeah, Jamie, if you go ahead and put on the.
Put on your PowerPoint.
Jeff, you have to mute yourself.
I guess until he comes back, can I ask a question? So, traffic management and city staff are opposed to the first variance, the thoroughfare, is that correct?
Correct.
And
yes.
so what you'd rather them do is to connect to the neighborhood to the north and to the south?
The connection is stubbed to the north. If you look at the parcel, it's kind of like a rectangular portion that connects to New Albany.
Okay, so you want them to have connectivity where?
They're not showing it on the site plan, but in 2015, when it was zoned, they had a different exhibit that showed the connection. It's a public street, Upper Albany West, I believe.
Upper Albany Crossing?
Yes.
Mr. Jones, it's shown here as the road stub. That's where the rezoning would have required the connection.
Okay, so where it says road stub is where it currently stops, and you want them to continue it south to what?
They revised their plan, so this Goldview Drive would naturally connect into that rectangular area to Upper Albany Crossing Drive.
So I'm not seeing what this gold place is. Is that the one right where the road stub is written?
There's a Goldview Drive to the left of that road stub easement, and then Upper Albany Crossing Drive. So you draw a straight line from those two streets.
Okay, it says on that area, it says existing 10-foot easement. To the left of the road stub arrow is where Division of Traffic Management would like to see the actual road connection to the internal private road.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's, the complication, if I may speak now, or is it might to wait?
No, please go ahead.
So the complication is, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, the complication is the Upper Albany Crossing Drive is a public road, which is maintained by the City of Columbus. The internal drives, what we call Andrew Reserve, which is the multifamily parcel we have in front of you today, is all private. So there'll be a public versus private kind of connection where the Upper Albany residents will be driving over private streets that are being maintained by us as the property owner with no investment or maintenance costs from other people that will be using that roadway. The other challenge is, in trying to be neighbors as we are, we have had discussions with Upper Albany West residents, and they, admittedly state that they are not in favor of this connection either. They've had 2 connections for the whole period of time for the 800 homes that currently exist with Upper Albany West. And within those 800 homes, they've had no congestion of traffic or any other kind of issues of cross-contamination of traffic. They are quite content with the existing access points they have onto Central College Road. And then they will also have future access points that go further north and to Hamilton Road. So it's kind of 2 points to that road stub. We don't disagree. In regards to the connection, which we are more than willing to connect pedestrian wise. So if the neighbors who currently live in Upper Albany West have any reason to go or visit people within what we call the multifamily Andrew Reserve, they still have that ability to visit their friends or neighbors, and also have the ability to walk internally on our trails and sidewalk systems, which would ultimately bring them out to sidewalks along Hamilton Road. So the issues are, from a standpoint of practicality, having the private roads versus the public roads, and then also with the residents within Upper Albany West choosing not to have that additional roadway connection. It's a quaint neighborhood back there. It's very private in nature. It's kind of the tail end of their property. They more so because of the COVID or the pandemic, there's a lot of pedestrian traffic in that neighborhood itself. So like I said, admittedly, with discussions with the existing neighbors, they would also appreciate not having that roadway connection.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes.
Much better.
Finally. I'm sorry.
Sir, your name is?
Jeff Strong with the MH&P.
Oh, okay. So you're back.
I am back. I apologize.
Okay, go ahead. We were speaking on
Yeah, I think Joe's presentation was primarily, I think, the biggest issue on this project. We have obviously 5 variants before you, and 3 of the variances deal with the buildings that front on Hamilton Road, and those issues are associated with 1, that Hamilton Road is a curvilinear road, and 2, that it has a power line that follows along it, parallels it, and therefore we cannot meet the setback requirements and or the based on that. So the variance is 3320.19B4, 3320.19B5, and 3320.19B5. Again, all deal with those 4 buildings. The 3320.19B3, which is private buildings, the T&D code didn't anticipate having large multifamily developments like this, and therefore, because of that requirement, they had a maximum buildable lot area of 170 feet. In this particular case, we have a buildable area length of well over that. It's like 1,600 linear feet. So we're asking for a 1,608 feet lot with expansion from the maximum of 170 feet. The last and final variance is the one that Joe was alluding to, is that this particular project has 2 access points of ingress and egress, as well as Upper Albany West does as well. And they ultimately will have one to Hamilton Road as the development to the east of it is developed. And we understood the need for pedestrian connectivity, but we were really hesitant on having any pedestrian or any vehicular connectivity for the reasons that he mentioned. And I'll be happy to answer any questions pertaining to that.
Okay, can you speak to, so with these green circles, type J and type G buildings, you're saying that you cannot put them parallel to the road because of a gas line? Is that what I heard?
Madam Chair, if I may clarify that. Mr. Strong said there's a power line easement that goes through where you see 150 feet in red. Along there is where the power line is. He said the 4 buildings would not be able to meet the parallel to Hamilton Road design, but actually it would only be the 2 buildings against the power line easement that wouldn't be able to meet that. 2 buildings to the left would still be able to meet it, but they decided to not be parallel for aesthetic reasons. That's they explain in their statement.
Okay.
So 2 of their buildings could be parallel, but they wanted them to match.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Is there anybody here to speak about this application?
Yes, Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Please identify. Yes, please identify yourself.
Sue Moore, and I'm a board member of Upper Albany West.
Okay, can you raise your right hand and promise that your testimony tonight will be the truth? Say, I do.
I do.
Okay, continue.
We just had a few questions and clarification that I heard in the presentation because we weren't sure whether the street access to Upper Albany Crossing was going to happen or not. And so now I hear that it's not, but we wanted to confirm that the walking path that they mentioned, bike path, walking path would still occur. Also, we wanted, Hamilton Road is in the process of being extended north, and we wanted to know if this road extension will be completed before this project starts. Another question is that we were made aware that there's a trash dumpster that's going to be placed in the corner of Gravel Ridge Road, and it's very close to the back property line of the Upper Albany West homeowners along that back line. And so we were concerned about that, about the distance. And that's also close to Brad Road and Trumbull Avenue homes. And then we wanted to know also about what buffer enclosures will be placed around this trash container. Those are our concerns.
Okay.
And also no one really contacted any board members about this. So we wanted to know why, what happened with that.
Okay, I'll ask the, I thought staff said that the neighborhood association, the civic association did send a recommendation. Did I hear that correctly?
No.
I'm sorry. There is no a governing body for the association for this particular area.
There sure is.
I'm sorry, within the staff report, City of Columbus.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, ma'am, we will have the applicant speak to your issues after we hear from all of the neighbors. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody else to speak on behalf of this application?
Hi, this is Terry Hennessy. I'm also in Upper Albany West.
Okay, can you raise your right hand and promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth?
I do.
Okay, continue.
Sue Moore and I, the woman who just spoke, we were both on the board of directors of our homeowners association, so she was very good about all of the points. I will address which is confusing to me. Again, we do have a homeowners association. Nobody that I know of, I mean, as far as like a central address that the information was sent to, we did not receive. It was up to another homeowner who lives nearby in one of the homes, like along Bridge or Trum Hall, made us aware of that. So I think that's one of the questions that we have is really finding out how we can, as an association, how we can get on a mailing list for developments like this. I think the second thing is with the road stub we're seeing on the screen right now, is if it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that your request is to obviously not have the road go into Upper Albany Crossing Drive. But if that's not done, would it be sort of like a walking trail or bike trails? If nothing is done, then we have basically an empty lot that MI Homes didn't build because of the assumption that this road would eventually go through. And I think also, like Sue mentioned, trying to determine, if this road does or does not go through, whatever it is, when in the development of this entire project that be done, because we definitely, if a road goes through, I mean, it sounds like you're not wanting that, but if a road does go through, as homeowners, I think we definitely want that to be the very last thing that goes in, because we put up with over 10 years of construction vehicles in our neighborhood, and we'd like to not have that happen. Thank you.
Okay. We'll have the applicant speak to all of the homeowners' concerns at once. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this issue?
Hi, yes, this is David Schultz. I live on Central College Road.
Okay, can you raise your right hand, Mr. Schultz, and promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay, continue.
My question was about the zoning, about the lot widths, and whether that's intended to, be for only single-family homes, and if, just changing that to allow a much larger structure, if that's, the intent of the zoning.
Is that your only comment?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, we'll have the applicant speak to those after everybody speaks. Is there anybody else? Hello? Is there anybody else? Okay, for the record that we did receive letters in from 2 residents, Eileen Heiser and Matt and Teresa Smith. So we have taken their comments as well. Okay, so I'll ask the applicant to come back and speak to the issues, questions raised by the community neighbors.
Okay, in no, I guess, chronological or important order, I think probably the most impactful one for everybody is the roadway connection. As the applicant, we are not requesting or are requesting not to install a roadway connection to Upper Albany West. We do have a plan, and we've submitted a plan to the city of Columbus that does have a sidewalk connection to Upper Albany West. So that will be the use for that particular area, which is actually not owned by MI Homes, but is owned by the existing property owner, which will be in the future will be owned by our company as far as that development. So the area will have the pedestrian path. It'll be landscaped. It'll be sodded. It'll be maintained by the property management company. So that's our request tonight, is to do the actual sidewalk connection. The other question as far as the trash area that's listed up there would be, if Jamie can go back to that plan real quick. The trash compactor is located at the west southern corner of the property, and it is a trash compactor. So it is a completely enclosed building that has split face block as well as doors and access ramps to that particular. So it is completely enclosed. So there's no visible trash area. This does face an alleyway that is part of the Upper Albany West development to the actual west of us. So it is along the same kind of use as far as an alleyway area, where the same residents that live directly to the west of us will also have their trash located in those areas at appropriate times, of course. But we do have it fully screened, enclosed, and fully screened by landscaping in that particular area. So that area is well maintained. It is cleaned up consistently. It is, the landscaping is utmost quality. And then the lot width discussion, as far as the 170 feet, is kind of a holdout for the T&D process. This type of development, which is part of the neighborhood center, allowed for other type of uses, which include multifamily. It never intended to limit itself to the type of use for just a lot, multiple uses in that type of district in the T&D area. So the 170 foot is, probably, I think in the whole scheme of things, was probably mislabeled or misnumbered as far as the type of use in that area. We have done this exact type of project or exact type of product within the T&D code. So it's allowed type of use, but the product itself does not allow it to be only 170 foot wide in any shape or form. So it is not subdivided in a plat process, so there's no individual lots. So that makes the requirement of that 1,600 foot variance, because of that lot width dimension, is not even acquirable or achievable in development. So I hope I answered everybody's questions.
Mr. Strong, one of the comments from the letters that we received seemed to be concerned about green space along, and I'm gonna call it the existing homes on Upper Albany Crossing Drive. I think there's green space back there. There was a concern that be maintained. Can you speak to that?
Yes. So let me step back a minute. So what has happened is there's a 25-foot green space buffer that is untouchable, and it's going to be owned and maintained by the Association for the Multifamily Development. Basically what happened is there was no commitment in the zoning to have that 25-foot buffer, but as a part of MI's development of Upper Albany West, Section 10, they made commitments to the owners or potential owners of the property to maintain a buffer strip, and then acquired an easement from the current owner of the Homewood Corporation to create that 25-foot buffer. And we have honored that buffer, and we are not in it, and all the trees and vegetation that remains within it will stay the same. The only exception to that is if we have to create the road connection that's being requested by traffic, then we will have to cut through that buffer in that particular location to get to the road. The only other question I'd like to mention here right now, if we could, as we move or proceed forward with questions and so forth, if we could look at each one of these variances independently and not as one whole variance, just because I know, especially the road connection is a little bit more of an issue with certain departments in the city of Columbus, and I think some of the other issues are probably not as contentious.
When you say look at them separately, you want us to vote on them separately?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Do we have any further questions for the applicant from the board?
Hi, this is
Not
Terry
yet.
Gassy again, if I may ask a question. Just real quick, I mean, again, as we discussed, and it's showing there, the Hamilton Road extension obviously has not been done yet at all. Do you guys know?
Well,
I know it's sort of currently, but I'm assuming that at least most of that or part of that will be completed prior to your beginning this project.
Yeah, Joe Thomas with Metro Development. The Hamilton Road extension will be completed prior to us starting construction. So that all access for the property will come out to Hamilton Road and ultimately on to Central College. So we are not requesting any type of temporary construction entry onto Upper Albany's west streets at all. So that was another item of concern, was the timing of construction and not having that roadway connection as well, but everything is access on the Hamilton Road.
Actually, that Hamilton Road is under construction as we speak.
Hey guys, this is Eric Woodley. Just a question. So just so I'm clear, the ingress and egress for 280 units is one way off of Upper Arlington Crossing Drive? I don't see another exit or entrance in the plot map I'm looking at.
It's right at Hamilton Road, which is not yet extended, and it also looks like it's Gilead Road to the left.
There's 2 points of entry on the Hamilton Road. The main entry at Rocky Knoll Drive and Sky Parkway, and then the one further to the south, which is a right in, right out only.
Okay, thank you.
That's driveway.
Helpful.
Sorry.
No, I appreciate it. I was trying to follow along. I just missed the other entrance exits.
I have a question for Jamie.
Go ahead.
Jamie, the variance that's kind of maybe contentious at this point is kind of a negative. It's like to not provide. Why would they have to provide? Why would they have to ask for a variance to not provide something that's not even required?
Which section are you referring to?
The first variant, to not provide a vehicular connection. They're not required to provide I can't imagine why they would be required to provide that. Why are they even asking for that? They don't
Michael,
want
that condition was a condition of their 2015 zoning text required by us. So they're trying to get a variance from that existing zoning. So that was a requirement of that zoning.
Okay, thank you. And so so just looking at it from a practical standpoint, it seems like it would be a lot of, it would be burdensome on the existing neighborhood to have traffic coming in through that way, in and out. I don't know that I really support the thoroughfare being there. It looks like they have adequate in and out, egress, ingress, with their 2 points of entry off of a major thoroughfare, which is Hamilton Road. While I acknowledge that maybe it was something they agreed to before, it sounds like they're providing a practical approach today.
The plan is pretty much the same as before. The reason why planning, zoning, and traffic management all don't support the variances request is when you have neighborhoods that basically create their own cubby holes outside of public streets with no access to the adjoining neighborhood. That's really the stance of our department. So that was the condition for the requirement in the 2015 text that we still stand behind.
Okay, thank you.
And we, I mean,
So
to clarify, we
so
largely
you're
do not see this. Hello?
Go ahead, Brandon.
And to clarify, we largely do not see this as a cut through as our roadway extension project will extend. It's more so to provide access from these residents to the existing public streets to the north. There's no logical, quick route to access through this neighborhood. I mean, we've looked at it, we've had meetings about it. There's very unlikely that a vehicle coming from the public sites to the north would want to access this site and not access the available accesses that they have to Central College and the Hamilton Road. It's more so because you have a connection that you want to provide to the existing public streets that really was a condition that all parties agreed upon in 2015.
Thank you.
I tend to defer to traffic and planning when it comes to roadways on issues like this. That's just my thoughts.
I mean, I'm usually at war with traffic folks, but in this case, I mean, they agreed to this deal to get the zoning changed before, and now they want to go ahead and change it again. I don't support that at all.
Yeah, I'm honestly with Bill on this one. I agree with him.
Okay.
Hi, this is Terry Hennessy. I'm sorry.
What?
This is Terry Hennessy again. Again, I live in Upper Albany West. I do want to point out.
Trees out of order.
Sir?
Yes.
We've already heard from you, and we don't tend to go back and do this repeatedly. So we're going to cut comments at this time, and we're going to go ahead and with our vote. That's our standard process.
I'll call the question.
The question's been called. Please call the roll.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Hold on,
We're taking. I'm sorry. We're taking each. We're taking the variances separate. So do the thoroughfare. Do the thoroughfare as a separate vote, and then the other ones together.
And I'll second the question.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm not sure I understood everything you said. We're voting on each one separately.
Dave? No, Dave, listen. You're going to call the first variance by itself, then the other four as one.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So the first variance. Mr. Wildelli.
No.
Mr. DeMora.
No.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. Maleka.
No.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
No.
Okay. Now on the other three.
Other four.
Four, I'm sorry. Mr. Maleka.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. DeMora.
No.
Mr. Wildelli.
No.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Variances failed. Thank you, sirs, for your participation, and we will move on to the next case.
Thank you for your time.
1811 East Lakeview Ave. I'm sorry, that one was tabled.
That's
right.
The next one is 1776 Drew Avenue.
Oh. This is John Stevenson, the attorney for the applicant.
Okay. This is case BZA 20-017.
Hold on, Dave. I think you need to swear in the applicant.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Chair Palmer.
Looks like she's lost connectivity.
Oh, Michael Jones, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, would you mind taking over for this case?
Okay, sorry with that. Paying close attention. The attorney for the applicant,
John Stevenson.
Mr. Stevenson, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll give this evening is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you very much.
Okay, this is case BZA 20-017, 1776 Drew Avenue. It is located in the area that's served by the Northwest area, or Northwest Community Council. Sorry. Northwest Civic Association, rather. Northwest Civic Association recommends approval of this request. There are a string of variances here. I don't think I need to read them all exactly, but essentially this variance is to allow a lot split to occur along the middle of the parking lot, along the north side of the property. And this is because there's a remediation necessary in that area. The applicant is trying to get financing from Housing and Urban Development for the portion that would remain to do rehabilitation on the buildings there. And as long as that section along the north lot line is the way it is, then HUD won't give them the money, is what I understand. So there are an awful lot of variances here just to say basically that all we really want is a lot split. Also, the applicant is agreeable to having the lots combined again once the remediation process has been completed. There are some other variances here that talk about the aisle and width, for instance, and maneuvering. Those are all technical because of where the new lot line is going to be drawn. So it looks more complicated than it really is what I'm trying to say. So the parking reduction, by the way, again, another more or less technical variance here because the 32 spaces that is on the lot already, as it stands today, will still be usable by those who are in the southern part. So city staff is recommending approval of this request, but we are asking for 3 conditions, and that is that these are pretty traditional. And so the first is that no permanent fence, wall, barricade, wheel stop device, or any other permanent structure shall be erected, installed, or maintained along the property line dividing the north parking lot. The ownership of the separated northern parcel from the existing parcel shall remain under the same ownership and use as presently exists. And third, these variances are only valid until the remediation project on the north parcel is complete, at which time the applicant will combine the separated parcels. One more thing to add, and that is I believe that the applicant, I saw an email earlier today, I believe the applicant has agreed to install the screening, that would be section 3312.21 A and D. D, I think, is what they agreed to with the screening. So having said that, we recommend approval, and that concludes my remarks.
Okay, Mr. Stevenson, you have a recommendation from the city staff along with some commitments for addition there. Are you in agreement with that?
We are.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I'm happy to answer any questions. I know it's a unique kind of odd situation, so.
Yes, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against the proposal? If so, please identify yourself and unmute your mic. Seeing none, is there any additional question from the board members?
Mr. Jones, I just want to make sure that I thought I just heard him say he agreed to all three conditions, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'll call the question.
If there are no additional questions, the question has been called in accordance with the conditions that are recommended by the city. Please call the roll.
Okay, Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Mr. Jones, I'm sorry, Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Wildelli,
Yes.
Chair Jones.
Yes. Variances are granted. Good luck. Good luck with your continued project. I'm
you're
sorry.
I'm here as well, Mr. Ray.
Okay.
I vote yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay. Eleanor, you're up.
My computer just shut down, like no warning. It just ran out of battery, just gone. So, case number 6, 2469 Kimberly Parkway East. Is the applicant here? Can you identify yourself?
Yes, this is Tom Ripsky with Prime AE, agent for the applicant.
Hi, Mr. Ripsky. Can you raise your right hand and promise that the testimony given tonight will be the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay, thank you. We'll hear from the city first, and then we'll come back to you. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Phil presenting here. 2469 Kimberly Parkway East is located at the terminus of Kimberly Parkway East and Maxway Avenue, served by the Mid-East Area Commission. It's zoned AR1 apartment residential. The 6.88 acre site is developed with a 122 unit apartment complex and 186 parking spaces. The complex was later converted to an assisted living facility, which was eventually abandoned. Now the complex has received approval for a change of use back to the original apartment use. Surrounding uses include apartments to the west, north, and east, a nursing home to the north, Salvation Army thrift store to the east, and wooded vacant commercial land to the south. The applicant proposes to convert the common area, the clubhouse in the middle, to add 8 more units, bringing the total apartment units to 130. The variance is to reduce the minimum number of required additional parking spaces from 9 to 0. They would require 195 total. C2P2 provide criteria for evaluating parking reductions, which include the presence of on-street parking, access to transit, and the extent of the variance requested. The proposal meets all of these criteria. There's adequate on-street parking, several bus routes run along Kimberly Parkway, and the variance is relatively minor. However, the Hamilton Road Corridor Revitalization Plan and C2P2 both recommend that open space be adequately landscaped and that the pedestrian experience be enhanced through tree planting. As this proposal is a part of an expansion in the number of units, planning staff view the inclusion of street trees and frontage landscaping along Timberlake Parkway is tied to the variance request. And the applicant has modified their site plan to add that landscaping. The Mid-East Area Commission recommends approval of this request. City departments recommend approval. The Planning Division has determined that the proposal is consistent with C2P2 criteria for supporting parking reductions. Additionally, it's consistent with the area plan that recommends the pedestrian experience be enhanced through tree plantings. We recommend the condition that the applicant would provide 12 trees along the Kimberly Parkway East frontage. Madam Chair.
Mr. Ripsky,
Yes.
do you agree with the condition about the trees?
Yes, we do.
Okay, do you have anything else to add about the project?
No, but I am available for any questions that the board would have.
Okay. Board, do we have any questions?
No.
Is there anybody here to speak for or against this application? If you can unmute yourself and let us know.
Yeah, hi, I'm Sean Bernowski.
Okay, Sean, can you raise your right hand and promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm the general contractor. I'm with Link Real Estate, the project manager over here. We do have the trees planted in the front. We actually put in sidewalks all throughout the property. So the site's looking really good. It's sat vacant for 3 years. We've cleaned it up and we're very pleased. I think the tenants, we have I think 41 people living in here now. They're pleased with the area. But yeah, all's going well over here.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else? Okay, are we ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Maleka?
Yes.
Mr. Demora?
Yes.
Without
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey?
Yes, your variance is granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, you are free to leave the meeting. Okay, case number 7, 1951 Indianola Avenue. If the applicant is here, please identify yourself.
Hi, Craig Moncrief, Plank Law Firm, attorney for the applicant.
Raise your right hand, please. You promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth. Please state I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Freeze.
Yes. Okay, 1951 Indianola Avenue is located on the east side of Indianola Avenue, approximately 360 feet south of Woodruff Avenue. The site is within the University Area Commission and zoned AR4, apartment residential. The site is developed with a single unit dwelling near the Ohio State University. The applicant proposes a change of use to a rooming house and requests variances to reduce the required number of parking spaces from 12 to 5 and to allow parking spaces located in the required side yard. As you can see from the site plan, they initially had 6 parking spaces, but Division of Traffic Management noted that a handicap stall needed a maneuvering space, so that leaves them with 5 parking spaces. The variances are to allow parking maneuvering within the required side yard. So this is the required side yard. You'd like to park and maneuver there, as well as to reduce the required number of parking spaces from the required 12 to the 5 provided. The University District Plan states that parking variances will be reviewed based on the presence of on-street parking, extent of variance requested, size and nature of use, and potential impact on the adjacent residential uses. The plan goes on to state bicycle parking be incorporated into development projects with no additional consideration in higher density developments. The Division of Traffic Management states that at least one of the parking spaces will need to be replaced with an 8-foot wide access aisle, which you see the applicant has complied with on the site plan. The University Area Commission recommends approval of this request. City staff can also recommend approval. Staff finds the requested parking reduction supportable and requests bicycle parking be included at the rear of the property to offset the reduced number of parking spaces. And we'd like to make that a condition that the applicant will provide 6 parking spaces at the rear of the property. With that, we'll turn it over to you, Madam Chair.
Where were these 6 parking spaces going to go, Jamie?
Anywhere in the rear of the property.
I think, did you mean bicycle spaces?
We were asking for 6.
Bicycle spaces?
Well, the ability to, so if you have 1 rack, you can put 2 bikes on it. So 3 racks would accommodate 6 bicycles.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure because I thought you said parking spaces. So I just wanted to
I did
clarify.
too.
Well,
Thank you.
Bicycle parking.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you. Do you agree with that condition, Mr. Moncrief?
Yes.
Okay. Speak to us about the parking variances you're requesting.
Yeah, so this property has been used as a sorority since the early 90s. The only issue is that the building card wasn't changed to reflect that. It's still listed as a single family dwelling. So nothing's changing on the property. It's an existing parking lot, existing building. The only thing the applicant's trying to do is change the listed use. And when you change from single family to sorority, it triggers this parking calculation, which they can't meet. So those are the only variances.
And I have a
So,
Madam Chair. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So I just want to clarify what he said. So this is a sorority. It was a sorority house, and you're just changing the definition of it. So you're not adding any more rooms or trying to pack more people in. Is that correct?
Nothing's changing. We're just looking to clean up the building card to match the use.
Okay, because I mean, I'm the parking guy, and I always have a problem when I see half the parking is provided. But if this is what it was, and you're just changing the definition of it, then I'm okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Do we have anybody here to speak for or against this application? Board members, do we have any other questions for the applicant? Okay, are we ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Rodelli,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, variance is granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
You are free to leave the meeting. Case number 8, 1111 Perry Street. Is the applicant here? Please unmute and identify yourself.
Yeah, hi, this is Tom Anderson. I'm here.
Hi, Mr. Anderson. Please raise your right hand. Do you promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay, we'll hear from the city and then we'll turn it back to you.
Okay, thank you. This is case BZA 20-033, 1111 Perry Street, located on the west side of Perry Street, approximately 33 feet north of Bradley. It is in the area that's served by the Harrison West Society. Harrison West Society recommends approval of this request. The applicant is proposing to construct a detached garage behind the dwelling that you see in the picture. There are other detached garages in the area, but the variance in this case is to increase the height from 15 feet to 17 feet 10 inches would be used for storage. City staff recommends approval of this request. And as I said, Harrison West has recommended approval, and we have no conditions. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Anderson, and do you have anything else to add about this application?
Just a couple of things. Can you still hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, just 2 things. Really, it was done for 2 reasons. One is that this house is rather small and they've run out of storage space, closet space and stuff inside. So we were trying to increase some cold storage. It's one of the reasons for putting the garage on. Also, the reason for taking the peak up from 15 feet to 1710 is really to stay with the aesthetics and the architectural look of these Victorian homes. Keeping it at 15 feet, it was very flat. It just aesthetically wasn't pleasing and wouldn't tie in with the house. So in an effort to try to make the neighborhood better and to keep it aesthetically and architecturally the way that it should be, in my opinion, we wanted to have that peak up higher so that it would look like the house and accomplish those goals. That's really about it.
Okay. Is there anybody here from the neighborhood that would like to speak for or against this application? Board members, do we have any questions?
I'll call the question.
Questions been called, please call the roll.
Mr. Weldelli.
Yes.
Mr. Demora.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. Maleka.
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, your variance has been granted. Thank you. You are
Thank you very
free
much.
to leave the meeting.
Thank you.
Case number 9, 682 Sternberger Place. Is the applicant for 682 Sternberger Place here? Please unmute and identify yourself.
Yes, Madam Chair. John Butt. I'm the homeowner and applicant.
Okay, please raise your hand. Do you promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay, Mr. Butt, we'll come back to you if the city presents the case.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 682 Sternberger Place is located at the northeast corner of Sternberger Place and Rudy Road, served by the Northwest Civic Association. It's zoned rural residential. The site is developed with a single unit dwelling and an attached 2-car garage. Surrounding uses include Ridgeview Middle School to the west and a single unit dwellings to the north, east, and south. The applicant proposes to construct a 720 square foot detached garage, replacing the existing shed. The variance is to increase the maximum garage area on a lot from 720 to 1318 square feet. The Olentangy West Area Plan recommends new garages be compatible with adjacent housing design and setback to mitigate its impact on the streetscape. The proposed garage's size, placement, and building materials are consistent with these guidelines. The Northwest Civic Association recommends approval of this request. City departments recommend approval. The Planning Division has determined that the proposed garage is consistent with the area plan guidelines that state new garages be compatible with adjacent housing design and setback to mitigate their impact on the streetscape. We recommend the condition that the applicant commit to stamped building elevations and materials. Madam Chair.
What do you have them conditioning to?
The materials that you see in the exhibits here.
Okay, the vinyl siding and the brick.
Correct.
Okay, Mr. Butt, do you agree with that condition that you are signing off that this is the materials to be used?
Yes, correct. We want it to match the existing house structure and facade. So yes, that was the plan.
Okay. Okay, do you have anything else to add about this application?
Basically, it's, the garage in and of itself is a permitted garage. It's within the parameters that the city sets forth. The essence of the variance is allowing us to keep the existing garage as is, simply because if we were to stay within the 720 square feet, be required to close that up, the city would then want to tax that as living space. We would be using that as workshop space anyway. And we just don't want that hardship and expense of closing up something that would just make the egress in and out that much more difficult.
So the 1318 square feet is both areas combined, is that right?
Correct. The new structure is 720 square feet, which in and of itself would be permitted. The variance allows us to retain the existing garage as is.
Okay. Do we have anybody here from the neighborhood that would like to speak for or against this application? Board members, do we have any other questions?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. Wildelli.
Yes.
Mr. Demora.
Yes.
Mr. Maleka.
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, variance is granted. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
You're free to leave the call. Case number 10, 1137 West Broad Street. Is the applicant on the call? Please unmute and identify yourself.
Hi, Matt Bierlein, development attorney on behalf of National Church Residences.
Thank you, Mr. You said Berline?
Bierlein. What you drink and what you draw.
Thank you. Raise your right hand, please. You promise to the testimony that will be the truth. Please state I do.
I do.
Okay, we will hear from the city and then we'll come back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 1137 West Broad Street is located on the southwest corner of West Broad Street and South Glenwood Avenue. The site is within the Frankfurt Area Commission and Zone ARO Apartment Residential Office District. Quick update to your agenda. It was previously assumed that the Division of Traffic Management was requesting a 50-foot right-of-way. It turns out they're not requesting that 50-foot right-of-way, so the fourth variance request, 333318, should state to reduce the building line along West Broad Street from 50 feet to 25 feet 9 inches, rather than 6 feet. And then along South Glenwood Avenue from 25 feet to 9 feet 3 inches. So I just want to clarify that. The proposal is to develop a 60-unit affordable senior housing community. As you can see, the 1.16 acre site is developed with an existing office building and warehouse. In the summer of 2019, the applicant rezoned the site from M manufacturing to ARO apartment residential. And as I said, now they are proposing to convert the existing structure raise the existing structure and convert a 60-unit affordable senior housing community. The West Frankfurt Area Plan recommends the site for industrial uses. Staff notes that CTPC guiding principles support mixed use and highest density residential development within the established commercial centers and along primary corridors with access to transit. After the right-of-way dedication was resolved, the Division of Traffic Management has no issues with this request, and the Franklinton Area Commission recommends approval. City staff is also recommending approval. The parcel is located on Broad Street in the area noted as downtown Franklinton in the West Franklinton plan, where infill development is supported and is consistent with C2P2 guidelines. The proposed urban setbacks are appropriate. We're not asking for any conditions. Madam Chair.
Good. Mr. Bierlein, if you have anything else to add about this application?
I don't have anything additional to add. I would be happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Since you're defining this as affordable housing, what is the cost to a prospective tenant per unit?
Let me see if I can pull that data. It is going to be an AMI limit, and I would like to make sure that I'm accurate in what it is. It's I apologize. I'm trying to pull up that information. Between 30 and 80% of area median income.
And do you offer subsidies? Is it income based or?
It is supported by, I guess I can step back and just talk a little bit. This is one of 3 affordable projects that is going through under the FHA Act, basically the Fact 50 program. And it is financing that was basically allocated to OFA, to the Ohio Housing Finance Agency, and allowed them to designate target neighborhoods that would be the recipients of the LIHTC awards. And so we're one of those 3 projects that's going through. And the neighborhood Franklinton was sort of officially designated in April of 2020. And so the process has been in motion since really about 2 years ago when we had gone through the rezone of the property. And so it is a LIHTC project flowing through OFA. It is going to be at that 30 to 80% AMI. It is income based, but there is not subsidy that is allocated to the project.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. I apologize, it was a little slow in getting that information to you.
No worries, I'm sure you weren't expecting that question.
I clearly wasn't, I apologize.
So I'm going to ask about the park. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Bill.
Obviously, you're reducing parking by more than half. So with seniors, I mean, these seniors that are going to have cars, I mean, are people going to visit these folks? I mean, having half the parking needed worries me, especially in Franklinton, where in the next 10 years, that's going to be part of town that's going to be continuing to grow.
Yeah, so there's a couple different dynamics in play. I mean, certainly the senior population is the primary driver on our request. And, you know, for our company, we're a long-term owner and operator. So we develop our properties and then we own and operate on an ongoing basis. And, you know, for us, our primary focus on that parking is we aren't going to ask for a number that's going to cause a problem for us as a manager. And in our experience, cutting it in half is a bit of a lower end of our target, but still within our comfort zone for the anticipated tenant population and anticipated use of automobiles in comparison to what we've seen across our portfolio. We've also seen feedback from the Franklinton Area Commission and its subcommittees on trying to. I think there's a focus on parking, but there is a willingness to go beneath what is code required, particularly on the transit corridors, with this property being on Broad Street and falling in that transit corridor idea. There's a focus on being able to take parking down and make use of that asset. And I believe that there's actually a bus stop that is across the street from the project across Broad Street.
Well, but I'm going to come back with you. You know, senior citizens with today's climate and who knows what's going to happen are not taking the buses because they're, worried about getting the virus. So, more and more of them are driving because less and less people are likely to get on a bus, especially their senior citizens that aren't going to have, we're not going to have a vaccine in the next year or year and a half. So, again, I'm worried about the parking. Franklinton, every place I know in Franklinton is looking for parking, and now you want to reduce it by 50%, and I have a problem with that.
Okay. Oh, that's
Is there somewhere close by that visitors or even residents can park?
There was conversation, but not a resolved conversation amongst parking on converting Greenwood to on-street parking. I'll be candid that they're not resolving that conversation in the time for this application to proceed, but there was a conversation about allowing conversation between parking and traffic about whether it made sense to convert Greenwood to on-street parking. Right now, it would be better apt to do that post-development. Right now, there's a lot of driveway that is presented by the project that we're developing. And of course, that driveway will be changed through the course of development. So it's going to be mostly street frontage with a small driveway to and from the project.
Jamie, you have a picture of Greenwood. Can we see?
Sure. Let me share this with you.
So at present, the uses that surround the property would be low intensity from a traffic and parking perspective. It's largely, it's a vacant lot to the south, and then light industrial across the street. Parking was actually supportive of a waiver for the request for a parking study under the parking guidelines, I think owing in part to our anticipated use, the current uses of the property, and the potential for street parking on Glenwood.
Hmm. I wanted to hear from Brandon on the vision clearance issue.
Okay.
And
actually,
are we comfortable?
That.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, when we thought there was going to be a right-of-way dedication of 50 feet, that pushed the right-of-way back into the, well, we thought the building would encroach into that, but now that there's not a dedication, there's no encroachment into that, so that variance is no longer necessary.
Oh, okay. So we can eliminate that one then?
I'd like to just chime in real quick. I believe that the vision triangle variance relates to our driveway on Glenwood as opposed to the corner of Glenwood and Broad. There was some confusion about this at the commission level, and so that variance contemplates, pulling up the language. The variance references the drive entry. So if you have the site plan up, it would be that driveway entrance is the denoted vision triangle variance.
Point to it, Jamie. Where is it on this map?
Oh, I don't know. Right here?
Yeah, you're right. You're right on it. That ties to the arrow with the vision clearance triangle.
I don't see where you're pointing. Can you toggle your?
Yeah, you see the mouse circling?
Oh, I see it now. I see it now.
Yeah, so plan west side of the driveway. The highlighted area.
Okay.
So what?
So you're coming out of the. I guess their own. I don't know.
I mean, the variance request says to allow buildings into the 10 by 10 vision clearance triangle. I mean,
the parking space encroaches into not the building, Jamie. Just the required parking space. That's why we have no issues with it. It's 7 feet versus the required 10 feet. They gain a parking space, and there's really a lower volume conflict there. That's really where our comment comes from.
Oh, the parking space encroaches on it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's tough to see because of the shading, but in contrast, there's the island on the plan east side of that driveway, and plan west is the extra parking place instead of the island.
And just to reiterate, we don't have any issues with it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then I guess that variance will stand.
Okay. Do we have anybody here from the neighborhood to speak on this application? Board members, do you have any other questions? Mr. Demore, did you get satisfied on your parking conversation?
Oh, I got satisfied enough to vote no, but.
That's fine too. Okay. Do we have any other questions? Are we ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Mr. Wildelli,
No.
Mr. Demora,
No.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, your variances were granted. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Just a clarification, Jamie, 11 was tabled, correct?
Incorrect. No, 11 is going forward.
Oh, I thought there was
Oakland
another
Park
one
is
that was
on-
tabled.
13 is tabled.
Okay. Oh, 13, okay. 280 Oakland Park Avenue, is the applicant here? Please unmute yourself and make yourself known.
Yes, ma'am. Stephen Gunther, are you able to hear me okay?
I'm able to hear you. Please raise your right hand. And do you promise that the testimony you give tonight is the truth? Please state I do.
I do.
Okay, Mr. Gunther, we'll hear from the city and then we'll come back to you. Michael?
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 80 Oakland Park Avenue, located on the north side of Oakland Park Avenue, approximately 50 feet west of Calumet Street. This is within the Clintonville Area Commission and zoned R3. You received an email with supplemental materials earlier today that included 2 letters of support from the applicant's neighbors. The site consists of a single parcel and is developed with a single unit dwelling and a detached garage. Surrounding the site are single unit dwellings. The applicant proposes to alter the existing detached garage and requests a variance to increase the allowable height for a higher roof pitch to match the architectural character of the residence. A variance to maintain a reduced side yard setback for the garage is also included. Planning supports this proposal. The Clintonville neighborhood plan states garage height should be permitted to exceed maximum height allowable by code if architecturally compatible with the primary house. The proposed elevations and site plan are compatible with the primary structure and are therefore supported. The Division of Traffic Management has no comment on this application. The Clintonville Area Commission recommended approval of this request. City departments recommend approval. The purpose of 3332.38 is to allow private garages in residential districts that are consistent with the scale and character of residential uses and buildings. The proposed garage is consistent with the size of the lot, the existing single unit dwelling, and the provisions of the neighborhood, the Clintonville neighborhood plan. We recommend the condition that the applicant commit to the building elevations provided. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Mr. Gunther, do you agree with the condition that you, this is the final plan for this garage?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add about this project?
Just want to clarify that the side yard setback, we're certainly not looking to reduce it in any additional measures. We're just looking to remain consistent with the existing structure that's already there, as that existing structure will remain. We're just adding to the front of it, which already has the decreased setback.
Okay, so you're using the same footprint.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Additionally, the second floor was done purposefully so that the ceiling heights were to not be a habitable space, no HVAC, no plumbing, as explained to the Clintonville Area Commission. So just to clarify that as well, too.
Okay. Is there anybody here from the neighborhood to speak on behalf of this application? Board members, do we have any questions?
I'll call the question.
Questions have been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. Maleka.
Yes.
Mr. Wildelli,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, variance granted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time, everyone.
App number 12, 235 West 3rd Avenue. If the applicant can please unmute and identify themselves.
This is Paul Schultz, the architect for the applicant.
Good evening, Mr. Schultz. Please raise your right hand. You promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth. Please state I do.
I do.
Thank you. We will hear from the city and then we'll come back to you.
Thank you, Chair. This is BZA 20-039 at 235 West 3rd Avenue, located on the southeast corner of West 3rd Avenue and Highland Street, zoned ARLD, Apartment Residential District. The site consists of a single parcel and is developed with a single unit dwelling. Surrounding the site are single unit and multi-unit dwellings. The applicant proposes to build an attached garage, which will require a lot coverage variance. And then you'll see that there are variances to existing nonconformities requested as well, and those include building lines, maximum side yards, minimum side yards, rear yard, and vision clearance. The planning division has no comment. There is no council adopted plan for this area. The site does fall within the Victorian Village Architectural Review Commission area. Division of Traffic Management has no comment. The Victorian Village Commission recommended approval of the request. Staff can recommend approval of the garage addition as it is consistent with the development pattern of the surrounding neighborhood and with the Victorian Village Design Review Guidelines. There are no conditions as they've already committed to the plan with the historic group. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Schultz, do you have anything else to add about this project?
Just briefly, we worked with the Village Commission to do the best we could to minimize the, variances requested. The 50%, we actually demolished a little bit of the existing porch, a wood frame porch, which is about the limiting factor of what we could demolish to minimize the lot coverage impact. The rest of the variances are somewhat acknowledging the existing conditions of a building that existed, well before there were zoning requirements. So, we're not encroaching into the side yard any more than the existing structure already is. And we're just trying to get on record a lot of these variances just to get them acknowledged for the property.
Okay, understood. Do we have any questions for this applicant? Is there anyone here from the neighborhood that wants to speak on this application? Okay, hearing none, are we ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Demora.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yeah.
Mr. Maleka.
Yes.
Mr. Wildelli.
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, variance be granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to number 14, 985 West 6th Avenue. Will the applicant identify themselves?
Hi, I'm Ashley Noonan with In Place Planning and Permitting, here for the applicant.
Okay, Miss. I'm sorry. You're with who?
I'm Ashley Noonan with In Place Planning and Permitting, and then we're also here with the counsel for the client as well, Ryan Schick.
Are you an attorney?
I'm not an attorney. Mr. Schick is the attorney.
Of course, at the very last second, the WebEx app gave me, I had to log in and out, so I apologize, but I am the attorney.
So you're here.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I was like,
Okay.
of course, at all moments.
If you both can raise your hands, and I'll swear you in both at the same time. You promise that your testimony tonight will be the truth. Please say, I do.
I do.
Do.
Thank you. Okay, we'll hear from the city, and then we'll come back to you.
Thank you, Chair Palmer. 985 West 6th Avenue is located on the south side of West 6th Avenue, approximately 70 feet east of Girard Avenue. The site is within the 5th by Northwest Area Commission and zoned M manufacturer. The site is developed with a rum distillery, which is considered a more objectionable use, and is located approximately 125 feet from the residential zoning district. The applicant is applying for 3 variances for this change of use. The first is to reduce the minimum number of required parking spaces from 25 to 0, reduce the distance of a more objectionable use to a residential district from 600 feet to 125 feet, and finally to reduce the minimum required building line from 25 to 0 feet for a proposed patio expansion. The 5th by Northwest Area Plan recommends vibrant mix of uses for the area. Both this plan and the Columbus Citywide Planning Policies recommend parking reductions as appropriate when balanced with additional transit options, such as additional bicycle parking and a location close to public transit. As the site is located near public transit, hosts a mix of uses, will not create any negative impacts to nearby residential areas. Planning is in support, provided the applicants provide additional bicycle parking. The 5th by Northwest Area Commission recommends approval of this request, and city staff can recommend approval as the applicant has satisfied the request of the Division of Traffic Management by successfully providing a traffic impact study. The only condition is, as planning requested, the applicant will add bicycle parking to reduce the impact of the parking reduction. And with that, we'll turn it over to the applicant.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I don't know if I don't know who's speaking, but go ahead.
This will be Ryan Schick. Thank you very much for your time. Okay. This is a situation that this board has come before, where we have local entrepreneurs who are wanting to start up their own business, who take information that they've seen not only from existing, from previous and or existing operations on the site. This property used to be the Four Strings Brewing, but at the same time, they also use the Franklin County Auditor's website, not the city's website, to determine its use, which at the time, before Auditor Spenziano fixed it, listed it as a tap room and a brewery. This facility operated for 7 years as Four Strings Brewery. It was not fully compliant with many of the matters. So when the client came to me in January and discussed this, we began taking all remedial measures by working both with the area commission that they'd reached out to previously back in 2018 to work with them, but at the same time focused on trying to work with the city. And what was particular about this project is that they were supposed to open in March. Mother Nature had different plans for us, and so we pivoted their current operation for producing rum by working with Mayor Ginther's office and City Attorney Klein's office to receive a emergency pandemic child care exception, and we have been producing hand sanitizers on site since that time for both public and private sales to individuals who require. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions and would like to demonstrate our research on this and how we believe that we could become an effective part of the neighborhood.
So I have a question for staff on this. Why is this a more objectionable use?
Because in the manufacturing section, it defines distilleries as a more objectionable use, and they are required to be a minimum of 600 feet from a residential district, which if I bring up the zoning map, you can see they are not. It's just what the manufacturing district categorizes distilleries as.
But I thought they were already distilleries, so that's why I guess I'm questioning.
Right. Well, as Ryan explained, they received zoning clearance under the guise of an eating and drinking establishment without disclosing the fact that they were brewing beer. So when the new tenants came in, they thought everything was code compliant, and it turns out it was not.
Okay. So, got you. So where is, can you point on the map where the residential is?
Yeah.
That's close to this?
So here it is on the zoning map. And then the applicant's provided a good site plan with the distance location.
Across the street on that corner?
Yeah, diagonally.
Okay. Gotcha. And then where do you propose, this is a question for the applicant, where are you proposing that your people are going to park?
Okay, I was ready for this, and in particular, Mr. Parking, Mr. DeMora. Could we please go back to the overall view? Yes, thank you. Okay, so what we're looking at here, we're looking at two parcels that are the same property, but just adjoining parcels. You'll see our property in question, 985. Next to that is 981. Those are both the same parcels. There's a couple things going on here. First, Bill, one thing I want to point your attention to is Four Strings Brewery actually had zero parking. If you'll see at the top of that, what would be the top of the screen, the northern line where the cars are parked in front of our parcel, that is actually non-compliant parking. That the trunks of those cars are already in the public right-of-way. What gets worse, and where I'm proud to say we did the homework, but the lot owner surrounding all these other lots, so taking that lot that I just described to you and the parcel directly adjacent to it that's owned by the same owner, everything else in that block is owned by Shops LLC, which is out of Cleveland. Shops LLC is owned by the Fillmore Group, who we began attempting to contact on February 6th numerous times. We were told by the area commission that they've been having nothing but problems with regards to this property group not enforcing their own parking restrictions, because as you'll see to the south across Fifth Avenue, there are a lot of mixed-use locations that are going into these places, charging their residents for parking to park at the mixed use. The residents are saying, forget it, I could park across the street because they'll never enforce it. And when I was finally able to get in touch with the Fillmore Group, offering them a lease option, they told us that they did not have the parking space, nor did they enforce their own compliance. And we had that in writing from them. And we went back to traffic with that, and that's where the good news came in. Traffic looked along 6th Avenue, and they began, parking, was highly confident that there was enough on-street parking, and they told us to stop wasting our time after a certain amount of time with counting both spots and doing the traffic studies. So we investigated the parking situation very heavily. It's a hardship that unfortunately is being created by the property owner that we could otherwise enter into a lease agreement with. But at this time, on-street parking and parking has given its assent to that.
So right to the left of your property, who's parking there?
So there is actually not that much parking going on there, which frustrated the negotiations to try to get that spot in the first place. That is the location behind it. In front of it is a Five Guys restaurant. We have Joe and Nikhil, the owners on here, who would be more than happy to discuss how the parking situation is during the day, and describe the situation of that parking that is located next to them. If you'd like to swear them in.
I think I swore in Nikhil. If you want to speak on it.
Oh, yeah.
Nikhil, if you want to say something real quick.
Yeah, Nikhil.
During the day, basically, there's no one parked in those two parking lots. Honestly, if you ask people there, they don't think it's part of the Five Guys parking. But it's basically it's by them, and it's mostly empty.
And especially during our hours of operation.
Right.
Sorry, Eleanor.
I don't think I swore you in, Nikhil. Sorry, just really quick. Raise your hand, and you promise that you will. Your testimony is going to be the truth. Please say I do.
I do.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so your plan is basically to park there until you are told not to.
Yeah, basically.
No, that's not the
sorry.
case. That's not the case at all. Traffic actually said there was ample on-street parking, that they did not have any concerns.
No, but I mean, people that are coming to your place of business, how would they know not to? I mean, it looks like a valid parking spot, so I would pull up and park there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's the way it was with Four Strings and as Director Ghosh and Mr. Pizzuti both put it. They never had any complaints from any of the neighbor property owners during Four Strings brewing period. But we're not trying to rest on that particular laurel. We also believe that our hours of operation remediate any other digital problems because we have we are just an evening establishment.
Okay, fair enough. Is anybody else have any other questions?
So I have one question, Mr. Schick. I just want to make sure. So you guys are not open at nighttime for internal drinking? You guys are just a business that's like a regular distillery that's probably closed at 6 o'clock or so? Is that correct?
That's not correct. No, what we want to do is we want to offer cocktails, patios, food truck, and it will be a distillery and a bar.
Okay.
Is there anybody here that wants to speak on this application? Okay, does the board have any other questions? Okay, we're ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
The question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Will Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Demora,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yeah.
Mr. Maleka,
Yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey.
Yes, variances are granted. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
You as well. I think this concludes, this is the last case, so we will conclude the meeting. We are adjourned.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. See you next month.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
See ya.